morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If you could stand with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Jason, you can do roll call, please.
Keisha Johnner.
Here.
Jim Miller.
Here.
Steve McCombs.
Here.
Entertain a motion for today's agenda.
Move to approve today's agenda. I'll support.
McCombs.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye. Communications. Board.
I would like to just make a comment very quickly regarding the 2026 budget process. A lot has been said about House File 718. Whether we like it or not, it does have an impact on how we create and manage our budgets. Like it or not, it is the law. And we do need to make sure that we operate underneath that guidance. We must work to create a working budget based upon those parameters set before us. No one has a better understanding of the individual departments than the department heads or our county employees. Therefore, I'm challenging all of the county department heads and employees to search for waste, duplication, or i.e. expense savings so that we can bring those back into and use those and invest them in other areas that are high priorities. My email is out there, and I would love to hear from the public or the employees or the department heads for any and all suggestions that we can find to save money. Citizens of our county, my request is the same for you. Every eye that we have on the county is helpful in trying to help us find those savings. Supervisors know that a fresh set of eyes help us to achieve the best solutions. And I'm asking for your help in those situations. It's easy to sit back and say, you should have, you could have, you would have. But this is your opportunity to participate in putting forth the best possible countywide governmental project that we can all work together to achieve. And that's my personal request and my personal comment to everybody in this room or anybody on the internet. So please participate. Don't just snipe from the background. Jump in and help out. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other communications? Seeing none, moving on. This is the portion of called public comments. This is the portion of the agenda where you can hear from the public that have agenda items that are not on the agenda item below. These could become future topics. So is there any public comments? Seeing none. Moving on. Entertain a motion for today's consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Mueller.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
On to business. Item number 1 is Marion County zoning. If this is the Marion County Comprehensive Plan. Missy, we have before us today. Good morning, Z. How are you? You could state, Z, if you could state who you're with, we'd be grateful.
Sure.
Good morning. My name is Yi Chen. I'm a planner with the Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance, or MIPA.
Great, thank you.
Melissa Paul, Reporter, Marion County Zoning.
Okay, so this morning, it's my understanding that you have an update, just kind of where we're at. Do we have a timeline at all, Z, or what we're looking at? And it'll pick up. It actually, the mics are very sensitive,
okay.
So you'll be fine. You
Sure.
can stand and you don't feel like you have to lean into the mic. So
yeah, I do have an update. I'll just kind of go to kind of an overview of our planning process and kind of how we got to this draft Marion County Comprehensive Plan, as well as give an update on some upcoming public comment timelines. So the draft plan that we have before you was developed through a planning process with different starting with community engagement events across Marion County. So we went to events in Pleasantville and Knoxville, as well as Pella and Bussy and other events. And after that, we had a community-wide survey where we gathered public input and feedback, and we also had meetings and email communications with the different Marion County department heads, with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and with area hospitals. The draft plan before you is organized into chapters according to the topics that are in Iowa code. Those are the Iowa Smart Planning Principles. This plan is intended to be a living document, and so it should be updated frequently and regularly to accommodate different changing situations in Marion County, and also to account for any new community goals or priorities that come up. So the next steps in the planning process is to have a public comment and review period. So we started with the Marion County Zoning Commission last Tuesday, January 20th. And now we're here this morning at the Board of Supervisors meeting. Afterwards, we'll have a 30-day public comment period next week on Friday, February 6th, and we'll end just slightly after 30 days on Monday, March 9th. And then in between this period, we'll have public input meetings in both Knoxville and Pella. Then on Tuesday, March 17th, we'll come back to the Marion County Zoning Commission to seek their recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to approve the final comprehensive plan. And then we'll come back the week afterwards on Tuesday, March 24th, to the Board of Supervisors for a public hearing and also a vote to adopt the final comprehensive plan. So today we're not looking to seek any action. We're just here to take any comments, feedback, or questions and discussion you might have on the draft comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Z, appreciate it. Just if you could, so those that maybe don't understand what a comprehensive plan is, if you can just give a high view of what that would help us in Marion County and why we do those.
Yeah, so the comprehensive plan is a long-range planning document that looks out 10, 20, 30 years into the future. And it's a document that lists different county priorities as well as goals into the future. So it's a long-range planning document to kind of help guide the county towards different developments and to align goals in Marion County.
Does this help developers when they're seeking to come to different counties? Do they ask for a land use plan?
Yeah, so the comprehensive plan is kind of more than just a land use plan. It definitely has a land use section, but there's also other topics in there too. And so it kind of provides these different topics for developers to think about, kind of what the county looks at in terms of affordability, livability, county priorities, and then hopefully those will help kind of jog some developer thoughts and kind of help tailor the developments to kind of better suit Marion County.
No, I appreciate that. Board, I don't know if you've had a chance to review this. I have reviewed it, visited with Missy just a little bit on just a couple little minor things, but otherwise you've done a very nice job. Missy, I know that you have been working with MIPA on this and making sure this is getting completed. And I'm excited. I think even last year when we discussed, gosh, this has been going on, it's been well over a year now. These things take a lot of time, don't they? And just to be able to make sure that we have this also gives us this plan that looks like we kind of know what we're doing and we have a future. And so it is a very lengthy document, but I do suggest that those that would like to see it, I'm sure Missy has make sure that that's available. If we have department heads or public that wants to view this, the board, I don't know if you have any questions or concerns for Z or.
Oh, no, I think it looks very thorough. I think very, very good job. And it does give us a plan going forward into the future. I mean, especially to attract, either more residents or job.
Thank you.
You're very kindly.
So.
And Z, can you said that the public meetings, just on that, where are those public meetings held at?
Yeah, we haven't finalized the dates on those, but we plan on having 2 in Knoxville and Pella.
Okay.
Sorry, 1 in Knoxville, 1 in Pella.
Okay, well, I'd hope that maybe the local media could pick those up too, and so that we can advertise, so people are aware.
Yeah, definitely. We'll share it once we finalize those dates.
Okay. Any further questions for Z?
Keisha,
Yeah.
I would add that once we got some other changes, we're gonna go over here once the meeting's over. But once we get the preliminary, some of those changes updated, that we're gonna have that available on the county website so that the public can view that and go out to that PDF. So
Awesome, all right. Thank you, Missy. No further comments or questions? Entertain a motion to close discussion?
Move to close discussion.
I'll support.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Thank you. On to item number 2. Item number 2 is Marion County Library Coalition. This is the FY27 budget presentation. Good morning. Morning, Tina. If you could take 2 your list, I would be grateful for the public and those that are online.
Thank you very much. I'm Tina Hurdle and I am from Pella and I'm representing the Marion County Library Coalition today. So thank you for having us and allowing us to share some of our insight onto budget needs. As Supervisor Mueller mentioned earlier, very important aspect, and I know you have a lot of responsibility with us. About us a little bit, there are 5 libraries that serve Marion County. So these are the cities that have the libraries. We have Knoxville right here with the director of Ashley Miller. Webb Shadle Public Library is the director there is Joellen Glick. Melcher Dallas Public Library is Lori Davis. Bussey Library is Cindy Leininger, and then I'm representing Pella Public Library. And of course, we couldn't do this without all the work of our trustees, so we are all managed by a board of library trustees as well. So secondly, I would like to thank the supervisors. Last year, you heard us and you reinstated the funding to bring us to the $95,000 level, which we distributed based on a formula amongst the 5 libraries. So we greatly appreciate your taking a time again to listen to us and allow us to bring forth some more information of what we did last year and what we hope to do in the future. Amanda? So what does our funding do? We are committed to making sure that all residents of Marion County have access to good information and resources, and not just like nonfiction or anything. Our resources are pretty wide ranging, which we'll discuss here in a little bit. But we serve, as I mentioned, we have 5 libraries that are within the cities, but we serve all of the county as well. So our coalition strives to provide access to books, media, educational resources, and much, much more. We offer internet access and technology. This is incredibly vital to those in the rural area that may not have regular internet access. We provide a variety of programs and events. We try to foster a sense of community, and I think that we know that in this day and age, we really need that sense of community. So that is a really strong element. And we also explore other opportunities for collaboration. Amanda? So kind of looking at Supervisor Mueller's direction of trying to highlight where the money is going and where we can find savings. We wanted to share a little bit about what your investment does cover. So if you take out the populations of our 5 communities, because we do get support from our cities, that leaves rural residents of about 12,000 residents. So if we look at the full amount, the $95,000, that comes down to $7.85 invested per rural resident. And you can see by our circulation numbers, just our rural residents circulate about 56,000 items. Now, this is only physical items. This is the only place that we track rural residents from the city residents. So that's why we're presenting these particular numbers. If you look at that, that comes out to about 5 items per rural resident. And if you look at the average cost of those items, that investment yields about $16 for every dollar invested. And again, this is just for the physical items. If you look at cardholders, it increases to about 11 items per county cardholder. So that is also a significant circulation rate. And you do see that more in rural areas because they may not have as many amenities that the larger cities do. So they do rely quite heavily on the services and resources that libraries provide. Amanda? So kind of put this in perspective. Overall, again, just looking at our physical items, between the 5 libraries, we circulate over 231,000 items, and the rural circulation makes up about 24% of that total circulation. We couldn't do this, obviously, without the support of the cities, the counties, as well as the state. So our income per capita based just on our city residents is listed up here as well. And the average for the income per capita for each library is $46.99. And the reason I highlight this is to highlight how far a library dollar does go in providing these services to our communities. Amanda? So areas that we can't track as readily, but we wanted to make you aware that we do provide these services. Between the 5 libraries, we offer 35 computers for public use. Of those computers, we had over 10,000 sessions. So that's individuals coming in and utilizing a computer. Some people bring their own devices, so they also connect to our Wi-Fi. So we have over 51,000 sessions of Wi-Fi connection as well. And again, we can't track this between city residents and county residents, but we do know that county residents do rely on this quite a bit. Next. We also, I apologize, when you put it in a PDF, it shifts some of the columns. So the data is there, but we also offer a variety of programs and events. And again, we don't ask if you're a county resident or a city resident when you visit the library. We just provide these events. In 2024, we offered 878 events with an attendance approaching 20,000. We didn't have all the data from all 5 libraries for fiscal year 2025, but just between Pella and Knoxville, we already exceeded that with 888 events and attendance approaching 23,000. So if you take what the other 3 libraries normally do, that brings us to over 1,000 events with attendance approaching 27,000. Some of the programs we offer, we all have very popular summer reading programs. And they get more and more popular every year. We offer a variety of book clubs through our libraries. We do a lot of arts and crafts, story time. Some of us have a trivia night. We offer Jerry Fit at a couple of our libraries, and this is an important exercise program for our seniors, and it's essentially chair exercises. And at least at Pella, and I think Knoxville has the same problem, we have waiting lists. So this is a service we'd like to increase, but we just don't have the capacity to do so far. But those are some of the highlights from some of the programs we offer across our libraries. Amanda? Speaking of a sense of community, as I mentioned earlier, in this day and age, having a strong sense of community is really important. People need a place where they can feel like they belong and find connection. And libraries become kind of that third place. So most of us, I know we do have some without homes, but your first place is generally your home. Your second place is generally your work. So third places become kind of a critical social network for many of our residents. And with the third place as a library, these are some of the spaces that we offer. Places to read quietly or with others. Teen spaces, play spaces for children, meeting spaces. And again, we're running into our meeting spaces tend to be booked more than we have the resources for. We offer games, puzzles, and a lot more activities that you can do within the library. We have strong programming partnerships with our community members. So we do a lot of programming with them as well. We rely heavily on our volunteers. So this becomes a third place for them, sometimes a second place because they do consider it kind of another job for them. We have book sales to help fund some of our programs, and we also have community-wide and county-wide events. We also do some things that we get support from the Knoxville Food Youth Initiative, where we offer meals, especially during the summer when they may not be able to get those at school. And we also offer holiday snack bags. And those numbers keep increasing as well. So we greatly appreciate the Knoxville Youth Initiative for that. Exploration of collaboration. These are some of the things we did this past year. We do have quarterly directors meetings, and we rotate those directions between the libraries so we can see each other's libraries, grow from each other as well. We have countywide library board trustee training sessions, and this year we actually had 2. We were invited to Polk County's virtual session on advocacy, and then on November 19th, we had an in-person session at Webb Shadle as well. So this helps strengthen our trustees and their advocacy work for the libraries. Our summer reading program, rather than each of us kind of doing our own thing, we're looking to collaborate more on that, looking at countywide business partnerships because they often provide donations for prizes and things like that, as well as coordinated events. It's difficult for some of us to attract some of the speakers and performers that we use in our summer reading program that the children have come to love. So if we can coordinate that better between the 5 libraries, it just makes the county that much stronger in the reading program. We also explored a shared integrated library system, which would have made it easier for each of us to kind of share our information and share resources as well. Unfortunately, the timing was not in the card catalog at this time. So we're still going to pursue it, but that might be something where we can see some cost savings down the road. Amanda? So of the $95,000 that you generously shared with us last year, this is how we broke it down. So we do a 40-60 formula where we take 40% and that's the base. Each library gets an equal amount of that base. And then we base it on circulation. Again, we use this number because this is the only one we can track county residents specifically. So looking at county resident checkout, we divided the other 60% this way. So again, we thank you for that. Amanda? And these are, in addition to our physical resources, these are some of the other things it does provide. I mentioned the technology. I know last year you really wanted us to, Pella in particular, to reinstate Hoopla. That was not sustainable. We could not afford to do that. But we do offer, all the libraries do offer access to Bridges, which is the statewide consortium for e-resources, for ebooks and audiobooks and magazines. The benefit of that is it costs each of us a lot less, but our readers, our listeners are competing with the 3 million other residents in the state of Iowa. So some of the wait lists are very long. Amanda? So I'd like to talk a little bit about opportunities. What if? So these are some of the things that we also discussed that might be possible with additional funding. So I mentioned Libby Bridges in particular. And one of the things we could do is we could model our programming after Sioux County. Sioux County has created a consortium between their 7 libraries, and they have, I think, slightly more population than Marion County. I think they're around 35,000. But what they did is they created a consortium. They received additional funding from the county, and then they each contribute an amount. And what this allows them to do is purchase what are called advantage titles. So if you see a waiting list for a popular title, and of course I should have written a title down because now they all escape me. But right now the correspondent, that's high on our list. I don't know if it's on everyone else's, but The Correspondent is a book that's very popular right now. If you go on to Libby, you might be waiting several months. It doesn't tell you exactly how long, but it's several months, which means it's usually over 6 months that you have to wait for that book. If we as a consortium could purchase at least one advantage title, our county residents would get top priority for that. So they wouldn't have to wait the several months. They could wait maybe several days, maybe sometimes several weeks, depending on how many advantage titles we buy. Now, a typical print book costs us about $25. A typical ebook can range between $55 and $75, depending on the borrowing model that we would use. So the pricing is significantly more, and that's why you generally do need more funds to do a consortium like that. We also talked about doing things like shared staff or shared resources, such as like technology, or rather than each of us trying to hire a teen librarian because that's in demand at all our libraries, maybe we can hire one teen librarian and share it amongst the 5 libraries. So we're looking at things like that. Programming in a box. We all do great programming, and sometimes we want to beg, borrow, and steal from each other. So maybe we can kind of create these programming in a box, and that way we could share that easily with each other. An outreach vehicle, which you're probably saying, whoa, that's probably really expensive. But with increased funding, we can apply for grants that would allow us to do outreach a little bit more broadly. Some of us already serve some of our assisted living facilities in our communities, but we're not reaching everyone. And we know there's a greater need, especially in the rural communities, that we could have a pop-up library or visit some of these and do resource delivery. But we could pursue a grant with that if we have strong Marion County support. We're also looking at interlibrary competitions. So puzzle competitions are really big. We'd like to see more of that, but of course you can't just have one puzzle. You have to buy multiple puzzles across the library, so that does get kind of expensive. Amanda? So what if the county increased its $7.85 per rural resident to $10 per rural resident? That would increase our funding about $25,000. Again, this is basing it on taking out the city residents from our 2020 census Marion County population and leaving about 12,097 rural residents. Madam? If we went strictly with a 40-60 split, the increases would be significant, but we could then work together to pursue some of these what-if opportunities a little bit more readily. Again, for example, using the Bridges Libby consortium example, right now, it's very difficult for any of us to purchase advantage titles because of the cost. If we're looking at 75 cents, I wish it was 75 cents, $75 per book, you're looking at an ebook and an audiobook. So then once you have to get one of each, it starts to add up very quickly. And especially for the smaller libraries, it's not sustainable. So rather than buying 5 advantage titles, maybe as a consortium, we can buy 2 advantage titles. And that would, again, greatly reduce the wait times that people are experiencing using Libby right now. Amanda? Another way we could look at this is taking out a certain amount for a project, such as we could put $10,000, and I believe that's close to the amount that Sioux County did when they created a consortium. Is they had I think they actually had $9,000 from the county that they started with a consortium, and then each library contributed a certain amount as well towards that. So a little bit could go a long way. And I know a lot of times you have to look at things like we're competing with all the other services we have to provide in the county. And I like to say that while our police departments, our fire departments, our EMSs provide great resources for the community as far as physical safety, I think libraries are there to provide mental health, emotional, and social safety. So we think this is a strong investment that the county could make to help us serve our county residents even better. Amanda? So thank you for taking the time. I'm happy to entertain any questions that the supervisors may have about our presentation for the budget.
Thank you, Tina. I appreciate it. Thank you for the coalition to coming together. I know that the last few years, that was a desire of mine that you guys come, and I appreciate that. Do have a few questions though. So big picture, when you look at, and I don't know if is Bussy or Melcher, I know Pleasantville's with us, but is anybody online at all for them?
I don't think so.
When you talk about some of those figures, and I think of $10,000, that's probably a pretty significant chunk for them. I know in the past, before you had your coalition, you know, I was the one that was working on it, and at the time, we'd given them 15,000, and they were like, "Oh, what are we gonna do with this?" type of thing, you know. So I wonder, when you increase that amount, how much of that is actually, is the county giving more than the city is? I mean, what is their total budget? So I don't have
No,
any idea. Cause I know Knoxville, and Pella's budget is much larger than that. I just didn't know if you knew it, the
Yes.
budget numbers.
one of the slides.
Yeah.
Can you
Was
go
it
back
on
a
there?
little bit, Amanda?
Maybe I missed it. Tell me when.
Yeah, it's more in the beginning.
Right here, I guess, provides, that's per resident.
Right here. So the income per capita, Bussy receives $33.59 per capita. So it's based on the population. So on average, taking the cities, the average is about $47 per capita. If you look at county contributions statewide, the average is about $23 per capita. And I know each county tries to do the best they can with the funding. But I'll use Sioux County as an example since I'm relating them to their bridges consortium. I believe theirs is around.
I have it in front of me. I do.
Oh.
Yeah, it's $37.
Okay, thank you.
So, but I will say Marion County, we have it listed, this is the FY26 that I got.
Yes.
It says $8.17.
And I think the way we did ours is we took the 2020 census population, and because that's how we report to the state library. And then we took out the populations that each of us report there. So I believe that list, I don't know where they get that number, but theirs is around 11,000, a little over 11,000.
So the population, herein lies a little bit of a unique situation. This goes on rural valuation. So the rural valuation in Marion County is a little less than a million. And so then it would go over, let's see here, in Sioux or whatever. It's, am I saying that right? Yeah, Sioux would be.
What
Is
are
it
you,
million or
what are
million?
you referring to? What are you referring to?
So this funding rate sheet, I don't know if you've seen this, Jake.
I haven't.
So I'd have to count that, yeah. Yeah, million, so it'd be million, and then Marion County is a little less, but also the population is 11,000, and Sioux City is about 8,000 people rural. So there is a comparison. We do have a larger amount of rural people. I won't deny that. Okay, so I ask this every year, and I think it's important because I think it needs to be brought up every year. Where are you guys at as libraries? Do you have a lobbyist? Do you guys go after to the state and say to increase the 6 cents? So the state of Iowa has to give 6 3/4% of the valuation to the libraries. That's both city and county. Where are you guys at trying to go to the state and saying, hey, this has been in since 1977, increasing that?
I could speak on that.
Yep.
So as you may know, the
And if you can introduce yourself, sorry.
Ashley Miller, I'm the director of Knoxville.
Thank you, Ashley.
As you know, the state cut funding from libraries this year due to a lot of things. And there's always been kind of an attack on library because, you know, we always try to prove ourselves as not an emergency service, but an essential service. So actually last year in February, I believe, I went up to the Capitol for Capitol Day. It's a yearly event that all librarians have the opportunity to go to in the state to lobby for legislation. And that was a topic point, as there's been no increase in funding from our state. So it's not just like Marion County that does it, it's everybody. So I myself have actually been to, you know, fight for our funding on that level and, you know, legislation against book banning and everything. But that was a topic point, and it always is every year.
So, and this is what I struggle with is, you know, it's 1977. No, I'm not gonna say my age, but I was a wee little one, right? we've had, it's ebb and flow. I mean, we've had whether who's in control of the government at that time. Why has that never been changed? I know you probably don't have an answer, but you get where I'm saying
Yeah.
with that? I mean, to me, I don't, I sit there and go, okay, well, this is what we're mandated to do. And some of these counties, they may be, I don't know how they're issuing this. Are they considering some of this, via lost money? I don't know. Do we know, do we have any idea on that?
No.
Tina, obviously, actually, you're aware that we do give a percentage back to the city of Pella and the city of Knoxville when it comes to local option sales tax. I would like to know if some of these counties are doing this via the lost funds. Does that make sense to you? Are they giving
Funding
more
the
to
library
library?
to the
From-
law funds.
From what I understand, and again, I'm basing it on just a few individuals that I have spoken with. It really is looking at how the county decides to distribute it. As far as I know, they're not using additional funding. I think this is strictly coming from the county funds. And I believe the percentages that have been decided, those are a minimum. So some of them are opting to provide more. So if you look at, like the math is somewhat easy. You said slightly under $1 million, so it's like 950,000. So it's about 1% that, or 10%, 1% that we're getting from the county. And some counties are opting to provide a higher percentage of that valuation. Sioux County being one of them. So they provide, I think, $300,000. And I think theirs is either 2 or 3%. I think the largest is 6% in that grouping. But it's a challenge, and I think I greatly appreciate being in Iowa, coming from Pennsylvania. Iowa provides stronger resources at the local level. And the reason I really appreciate that is because that's where we have the greatest impact. So we want to see that kind of impact. And I know if you say, well, if we give you more money, it's like, what are you going to do with this? Honestly, like the funding we get does not support the amount of, like, again, we're looking just at circulation data, and the funds that we receive for that does not cover the full circulation amount. We have to often purchase additional books, especially the popular titles, the New York Times bestsellers. We often will purchase additional books or borrow from other libraries. The state did see a decrease this year, mostly because of federal cuts, and they prioritize things. Libby was one of the things that they did prioritize, and they do a significant investment in that so that individual libraries' investment can be much smaller and sustainable, so we can reach all of Iowa.
And I want to correct. It's not quite a billion. We're passing on. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, did I say billion?
No, I'm the one that said that. So, when you're looking at all these numbers and you're like, oh, is that,
Is that a billion?
right, we don't, work oftentimes in billions, so an evaluation, it doesn't take much to get $1 million, so.
Yes.
So yes, anyways, we're not quite to a billion. So anyway, long story short is, yeah, we understand where you're coming from on your request. I get that. I get that it's been this number for years. We as a board are gonna have to we're gonna discuss this during budget time like we have in the past, and that budget time will be the week of the 17th through the 20th of February. We will meet in the mornings. We probably won't make this decision. It'd probably be towards the latter of the week. Okay, so I hate for you to have to sit and listen to the whole entire thing, because I know that gets kind of a lot too. But generally, we hear from the departments first, and then we wrap up with saying, okay, the library's before us. Board, did you have other questions? I do have one other question regarding shared staff and resources. We have been faced, and I'm sure you guys are facing the same. When do you guys pool your libraries together? When do you look at, do we need 5 libraries in there? Those are all things that, those are hard questions that I don't like to think about, but I know that we're being faced with those things. We're being faced with, what prioritizing, what's important, what's not. Where do, you know, have you guys thought about any of your resources like that? I know you kind of talk about it, but is it gonna be such a thing that maybe you will get ahead of it and say, all right, I'm willing to do this before we're forced, right? And I think that's where you were going with this, son, Jim.
Yep.
There's some things that sometimes that we get in our silos and say, oh, well, this is mine and I don't want to share that. But I think we're being forced from the state level that we're gonna have to think outside the box. And so I do think that whether it's, you know, these titles, the advantage title situation and how, you know, I know that people don't want to wait anymore, but I use Bridges. And I use it through.
Thank you for doing that too.
Yep. I do use that. My husband and I both use that. And we do know that there's a long waiting list. I mean, there's times where it says months. My question though is, you know, if we were to fund more money with that, how do you go about, since people outside of the county can get a library card, how do you control that?
Well, Bridges is, there are ways that we could track it if we wanted to. It would take more human resources and time. So it's one of those things you weigh. Much like Pella had to do with Hoopla, we had to essentially take that information and then parse out, using our library system, which ones were county residents, to identify who they were to pull them out. What we keep seeing is the services across the board are increasing at all our libraries. And again, I think this is also indicative of the economy. We know people are feeling the crunch right now. Their food prices have gone up. Just about everything has increased. So they are coming to the library more and more. We're seeing our visitors in Pella are over 11,000 visitors per year. So it's not decreasing. And I keep saying it's got to like plateau at some point. It's not like we're growing that much more, but you know, we just, especially our county residents, they don't have access to, you know, bookstores or movie theaters. We have a couple of theaters amongst all in the county, but they don't have access to the amenities that you might see in a Des Moines, whose circulation is lower per capita. All our libraries have very high circulation per capita. And that's just one thing we can track. Our programming attendance has increased significantly across the board. So yes, we would love to make cuts, but it's often at the expense of the needs of the community. So yes, I do think based on the visitors we have, the circulation we have, and the fact that several of our libraries, actually all of our libraries are under-resourced. I've made this argument with my city. You should have probably one person for the amount of services and circulation that all of our libraries do. We should have one FTE per 1,000 residents. So Pella itself is about 3 FTEs, between 2 and 3 FTEs behind where we should be. And we can say that for all of our libraries. So it's really difficult. I mentioned Jerry Fit. It's really difficult to provide those kind of services when the demand's increasing and we just don't have the physical or financial capacity to do so. So we continuously, I think libraries in general are very, very efficient with the funds that they do spend. But it's harder and harder to keep purchasing things for the county. With this, when you have level funding and prices increase, it's the same thing. We just kind of struggle making those ends meet.
We have that same struggle with our taxes.
Exactly.
Our prices keep going up, but our revenues don't,
Yeah.
or not at the same rate, so.
I had another thing to say, because I kind of heard your question a different way. Other counties and other cities don't have access to our bridges. That's out of state consortium law. So like someone from Des Moines couldn't come get their card at Knoxville and receive the same like advantage titles that we would purchase. It's only for
You can lock it down.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
It's just so like technically like if you're live in Pella right now, you cannot use out Knoxville's bridges. But everybody in the county can use each library's bridges consortium or because of their advantage titles because they're all paying into it by being a county resident.
Okay. And I should have mentioned that that is something we can do within Advantage.
Yeah.
So if I purchase Vantage titles right now, county residents could take advantage of it if they have a Pella library card. But if we did it as a consortium, especially the smaller libraries like Bussy can't afford to purchase every single bestseller that's out there to meet the demand. But I don't know if you've ever encountered this. Sometimes if you do on Libby and say, just show me what's available now. And a book will come up and then you're like, great, I want to read The Women by Kristen Hanna because it says it's available now. And then you click on it and it says, we're sorry, it's not really available because another library has purchased this and prioritized their users first. And then you can get it after one of their users has returned it. So you can control it. It's something you can do within the system. And we work with the state to do that. So there's a way to control it that way. Yeah.
That begs a really good question, and it all drives down into exactly what I was trying to get to at the very beginning. Perhaps I didn't say it quite as well as I wanted, but it's all going to be driven by efficiency. I mean, that's really what we all have to embrace, efficiency. So to Keisha's point, I guess my question then becomes, what is each one of those individual libraries doing within that consortium to become more efficient? And then, i.e., the question then becomes, okay, you just said, well, that's my Bridges license in Knoxville, and you've got a Bridges group in Pella. Somebody else has got a Bridges group in Bussy, and each one, okay, or each one of them. So then the question becomes for me is, with the funding that we're providing, can we get just one Bridges license? And is that
Well, that's what the consortium would do.
Is that more effective and efficient and economical than it is from each one of the community Bridges license and saying, if I have a Knoxville license and if I have Pella license, and I have all these different licenses, and the grand total is, I'm gonna pick a number, $200,000. If you have one county-wide Bridges license, consortium license, if that's $120,000, doesn't that make a lot of sense to make that change?
The Bridges actually consortium is very reasonable.
And that's only an example. Right. My question is just as an example. And quite frankly, when we get to the budget portion, that's going to be very important for me to hear what is each one of the groups doing in order to economize and become more efficient and still provide a particular level of service. So again, there's going to be no sacred areas. Everybody's gonna come to the table and say, here's what we're doing. There are no silos. Silos are gone. If you're expecting to get countywide dollars, there are no silos. I don't care. I don't want to hear Knoxville. I don't want to hear Pella. I don't want to. This is us. We're a team. Let's figure this thing out together.
So I will.
This is how we do it economically and still provide services. And this is what we're doing in order to economize. And that's really what I want to hear from everybody. If you're getting county dollars, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, and the Bridges, we call it Bridges because it used to be in Iowa. There was a large consortium near Iowa City, those group of libraries, and then also, I guess, the Des Moines area as well. And the state recognized that this is really efficient for them. What if we pool all our resources? So and we pay based on our number of residents. So Pella, of the five of us, pays the most, and then Bussy would pay the least for Bridges, but allows each of the libraries to provide this service for their community. The state library makes this affordable because they contribute a significant amount to it. If we each tried to have our own, it would cost a lot more than $120,000.
Pardon my ignorance, I don't know what it costs. I was only using that as an example of saying, okay, let's work together. I love the consortium idea. I think that's wonderful. And I'm just saying, let's leverage that and go to the next step and say, what else can we combine and look at it as a group? Because the funds aren't getting any bigger.
Right.
I mean, they just aren't.
Well, and that's what we're looking to try to do things together. So
I love your option of saying, well, if you increase to 120,000, I got to tell you, hey, It just isn't.
And we recognize that, but we wanted to ask because we wanted to make Marion County competitive with some of the other and highlight what could be done with that. And those were some of the examples we were looking at, like the outreach vehicle. None of us can do that on our own, but that's what we're hearing from our communities. I'm sure when the comprehensive plan comes out, we're going to hear some of that from Impella. They're saying they want more programming, they want more activities for seniors. They want to retain their youth and young professionals. And how do you do this? Through good comprehensive programming. And again, we can't do this all individually because it's not sustainable. So that's why we're looking for these areas that we can collaborate more strongly.
And I think that's wonderful, because you've got to identify these opportunities. So then my question then also again becomes, are there these things that we can do as a group, as a consortium, that we can pool our resources and accomplish without additional funds from the county or whatever? What's stopping us from doing that today?
Are you thinking of what, okay, let's just say that number of 95,000 instead of, and just buying I mean, cause there's obviously the rule checkouts. You know, they've come up with this formula. Is there another type of formula system that you're thinking that maybe we should give them the direction of?
I'm not gonna be prescriptive. I'm just gonna say, educate us, make us better. Nobody knows your business better than you guys do. I mean, I know the finances, I know what we have the opportunity to do. My business history has been, okay, let's take a look from the outside and throw everything up in the air and recreate things to be the most efficient, effective way and try to accomplish our goals efficiently, effectively, at the price or at the amount that we can afford to do. And please don't misunderstand. I'd love to give you 120,000. I really would. Unfortunately, I just don't, not seeing what we have in the budgets or those things, but history has proven that that's just a big ask. I mean, that's such a big increase over where we've been in the history of, and I haven't even heard from any of the other departments or anything of what they're all going to ask too, but our pool is only is a limited amount, and we have to be very mindful and effective in how we distribute those funds. We don't want to. I'd love to write checks to everybody. I'm not the federal government. I can't spend at a deficit. So if you've got a question, please.
I don't have a question, but I just, when you're asking how we are working on like saving money, our library has literally went from, we thought we were closing. At one time, the building was offered to the school. It was offered to the city. Neither one of them wanted it. Our friends group gathered together, worked together, and got from the city. They had somebody come in and inspected the whole building, and they had a list of everything that was wrong with the building as to why they didn't want to take us on as an official public library, because we had been run off of a trust. A group of friends got together, went up to Drake Law Firm, got they did free pro bono work, got our 501c3 number. Then they all started working on grants. They took that list, went from, I'm just like, we did so much. We did the roofing, we did cement all around the building because it was cracked to point. We did handicap accessible back doors, handicap bathrooms. We totally pulled out all the from volunteers. I'm like, this is a whole bunch of volunteers that are people from the community who work together. We tore out the whole east room. There was carpet that was literally, when I started there, it flooded back there, that I'd have to take a shot back there and suck the water up. We had a volunteer that came and did went around the building so that all the water could flow away from it. And this was all, and I'm just like, we have penny pinched together so much. And now it's like, at one time we had like, okay, we wanted to do events. So we'd be like, okay, we found somebody to donate pumpkins. We do pumpkin painting. We do have like 15, 20 pumpkins. Now it's up to the point where it's like 70 plus pumpkins. And like even the chamber's even thinking of doing like a pumpkin fest I'm like, it's just to the point that it's great, but it's like we have had such a surplus and there's such a need because we don't have that much other, we don't have any corporations in our town. We have one gas station and the restaurants and stuff that do donate, they're being hit up by everything in our town. And we've seen such a big increase of homeschooling that are using our facilities, not just for checkout, but they gather for family book clubs. They gather just for homeschooling groups. And we don't record all the people that are coming in. And it's because we don't say, hey, are you rural or city? They just come in to utilize it. Our rooms used for 4-H meetings, we're used for betterment committee meetings, we're used for fine arts meeting committees. And these are all different type of meetings that, because there is no other location in town that's being utilized. But I'm just saying the air conditioning and the heaters, the heating, the whole system was through grants that the Friends group wrote. Carpet, we had Buy a Square, Sure You Care, Buy a Square. It was a fundraiser event. We received enough money like in about 2 months to resurface the whole building.
So that,
And
so
so I'm
Alan
just
brings up
saying-
really good points, like
But hang on,
what we can do is pursue grants if we can show that we have strong funding sources and support already.
and I do think though that we need to make sure that the public and we understand, and Joelle and I hear your
Yeah,
cry.
I'm just saying, like, we are so trying to pay attention to everything, and I'm so sorry that we are up and asking for this money. It's just that the cost of living has increased, and we're just reaching out because we don't know what other pathways to go, and especially like our city is paying $73.35 per an individual, where the we're only receiving $7. So it's like it's almost that right there is kind of. Like, especially for the rural
Cover
movement.
the building though. My understanding is
Yeah.
by code, you know,
Yeah.
the salaries are covered by your city.
That's correct.
So I think there needs to be maybe a little bit more definition of what we're covering. And then also, Tina, I want to make sure Hoopla is no longer offered at all by Pelham.
No, it was one of those, it was approaching because you didn't have to wait. But we had to pay every time someone borrowed something. We were approaching $36,000 a year, which was over 25% of my operating budget for resources. There was no way we could sustain that. It was not a good investment. I like to look at return on investment because I want to highlight, what every single dollar that you invest in the community, what you're getting back. We use physical circulation because that's the easiest for us to track with our county residents. But it doesn't highlight all the other services. And one thing we haven't mentioned is libraries are warming stations. And we tend to be open a lot longer than other places. So again, that's a vital need for our communities. So we do try to save money where we can. It's just very difficult.
Please don't misunderstand my question, because you only know what you know, and clearly I don't know all the history of all the different locations and all those things, so. Please don't misunderstand, I'm not taking a shot at anybody, I'm just saying, you know what, let's look at it with a fresh set of eyes, and if there's more that we can do, wonderful. Let's look at those opportunities and move forward in that regard, because it is difficult, it's difficult for you guys, and it's difficult for us too.
That's why we want to highlight some of the things that would be possible with that funding.
Yeah, if we weren't funded by property tax, we don't have a revenue generator of being able to, electricity and things like that. We're funded mainly by property tax, and we all know what inflation has done for books, which is rock inflation is horrendous. Whether buying vehicles for our law enforcement and equipment and stuff like that. So there's a lot of pressure on all of us, and we hear your cry. I hear your cry. At the end of the day, we're just gonna have to look at the budget and go from there. And we appreciate you guys showing up and and telling us, your stories. So I'm thankful for that. And we will have more the budget week. So Steve, do you have any questions? Get a motion to close discussion.
Well, thank you again for taking so much time and asking such insightful questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Joellen. I appreciate it. Entertain a motion to close discussion.
Close discussion.
McCombs, Aye.
Healer.
Aye.
Johnner.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Item number 3, Board of Supervisors. This is disposition of county property, road department clay shop, which is located at 2073 Pierce Drive, Tracy, Iowa. Board, if you'll recall, it's been quite some time. Tyler had come before us asking, once he's done 92 completed, how we as a board would like to proceed and selling the Pella shop and the clay shop. At that time, we discussed how we could do that. It was determined at that time that we could do sealed bids. I also at that time had brought up maybe bringing in the 3 top highest bidders and letting them bid again. But we give the direction to Tyler to just do it on sealed bid. Before us this morning, though, is we have been contacted, and I believe, Steve, you have some comments in regarding this. This is something you put on. If you want to kind of lay out your thoughts on this. And
Yeah. I know originally, when we talked about selling excess property, I know we need to look at making the best profit we can for the taxpayers. I agree with that. But I also believe, after further delving into this issue, that my personal opinion is it would be in the best interest of Marion County residents as a whole, if we were to sell the property to the current landfill, because there are some issues that may come up as far as liability issues. And I believe the director will address those when she gets to speak to it. I do believe that they're willing to make a very generous offer. Above, you know, we had a appraisal done in 2022, I think it was the last appraisal. And I think their offer will probably be way above that appraisal. So, but anyway, I will let the director speak to what she believes the issues may be in the future for liability issues if somebody other than the landfill is the person.
you'll come to the podium, please, and state who you are if you're going to be back. Yeah, you're fine. We get back.
Right, good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Jennifer Murphy. I am the new director at South Central Iowa Solid Waste Agency. I believe you are familiar with my predecessor, Rick Hurd. He had just retired in the past month. But I look forward to maintaining our good relationship with the county. And thanks for having us here today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it.
So yes, it had come to the county's or to the agency's attention that the county was looking to dispose of the clay shop property that is just south of the Marion County landfill. And the agency does have some interest as far as what happens with that property due to some long-term environmental and financial liabilities, possible liabilities, as Steve kind of mentioned. But I do want to open at least just by saying that we do understand it is the county's prerogative to dispose of property as you see fit. And we do understand your need to maximize the value of that sale. So with that said, we do appreciate the opportunity to at least discuss some options that could come before the board in order to transfer that property and reduce the opportunity for private ownership of said clay shop. You can see from the picture here, this is about 5.8 acres taken right outside of the Marion County landfill. So that south side of our property, the agency was formed in 1994. And when they did that, they took over the old Marion County landfill, and we took responsibility for that. So previously, that Marion County landfill was owned by Marion County. When the agency formed in 94, we took ownership of that old landfill as well as any environmental liabilities for that landfill. We currently carry almost $6 million in closure and post-closure funds to help support any closure or corrective activities that would need to occur with that Marion County landfill. Now, when we look at the proximity of this property to the Marion County landfill waste boundaries, it's very close. So we will be open. We will say we are not certain that there is waste on this play shop property that could be buried. We aren't certain that there is, but we aren't certain that there isn't. And some of our concerns are how we deal with those environmental liabilities moving forward should there be private ownership of this property. Now, I'm also mindful of the fact that we are in an open meeting discussion, and any of these discussions could also affect the perceived value of that property, should you decide to go forward with CA bids. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have today about how we proceed, how you'd like to move forward, or any questions that you have about those environmental liabilities.
Does the landfill own all of the property around Clay Shop? Yeah, I don't know where that, I see all the grids, but it doesn't tell me what the ownership lines are.
Yes, we do. And actually, I do have a map if you would like to see that. I didn't know that we could provide some images for your PowerPoint presentation, but I can show this to you.
Yeah,
Um,
and we're thinking, you know, we're talking.
So these maps show the agency's property boundary all the way from here
Okay.
and up and around. But we actually come all the way up to this point. So it's just a little 5.8 section acre.
So this is the
that's
only
ours.
section in this area that you don't already own.
That is correct.
So you own over the T17 up past where the landfill area is.
Yes.
This is the current landfill.
Mhm.
And then over, how far over do you go?
It's almost a full mile.
Okay, so it's clear past this. Okay. All right, and this is the only area, or this is the only area you don't own.
That is correct.
Okay.
And now you can see in this map, those blue lines here, that almost shows kind of the outline of the old Marion County landfill would be this section right here. So that is the portion that is closed. And actually that portion was operated before you had subtitle D regulations that required liners, et cetera, of sanitary landfills. So that has been closed since 1994 and undisturbed.
Just so for clarity also, is this how you used to enter the dump?
Yes, you're getting into some territory where this is before my time,
Okay.
but Leslie might be able to help us.
Yeah.
But my understanding is that at one time there was an entrance this way and then there was also an entrance this way. Is that correct, Leslie?
correct. Yep.
Okay, so there was a small scale house, et cetera, in this area.
Is the reason that we kept that, and I don't know if anybody knows, did we keep that because we were gonna use it for the shop? Tyler, do you have any idea why we kept that? And that wasn't then at the time just deeded over?
It was a shop prior to 1984.
Okay.
That's what you're asking.
Yes.
That's what I was looking for here.
There's structures and things on that. I have not been there the
Yeah.
first.
There's some a metal building and then like a storage type where
There's-
they used to use salt and sand or something.
I believe that property was there when it was Marion County landfill. But I don't think they ever suspected that, hey, let's form this 28E. And so it was Marion County's landfill. So it was already there.
My concerns are that if it were to go into private ownership and there is excavation that takes place and they do find material. A liability, that would be a liability for the landowner beside the landfill. Because then they would have to close a cell off, which would be very extreme costs. Dating for that property. And also, it's my understanding, you know, right now, we have our shop, our road shop there, and we stockpile material. The landfills graciously agreed to, they want to purchase property to allow us to still stockpile material. That would have to be something, some kind of form of agreement, of course, but. It makes perfect sense that the landfill owns some and relieve us of any future liabilities or themselves. Because if it gets hit, we have to close the cell off, that's very expensive. In the DNR process.
So I wanna ask Jared if it could for a minute. In the past, when we were doing looking at selling the laundry building, we formed a committee. And at that time, it was, Ross, myself, Chris Nestaby, to be able to meet to try to work out an agreement. Is that something that we could do with this property, if that's how the board shall give a direction?
Yeah, I think the board has the authority to change and decide how they want to sell this. And if that's the direction you want to go, I mean, the important thing is that we have proper notice and a hearing on it, but there's no requirement that we have to do sealed bids or anything like that. The board could dispose of the property after consideration of a committee or something like that.
Okay. All right, yeah. So board, I mean, if, I know that Steve serves on that, the landfill board, and so, and, obviously he's brought this agenda request. I guess, to me, since we have done this in the past, in which, being able to do a committee, and then, we have to do proper notice, you have to notify the public that you're wanting to sell. This is what you're, looking to sell in this position. That is something, we can go with. We don't have to do the sealed bid process, is what I'm trying to tell you. But we do have to make sure we have.
Do we have to do the committee then?
Well, we have to be able to, settle on a price. And then you have to be able to notify. So, I mean, I guess if they wanna come back with a price, and then we want to, and then we have to agree upon that offer contingent. Right, I agree, and I am too. I'm just trying to make sure that, we can be able to have discussion. But, and that's, if you guys want to discuss this, just, you want give them the directive of them going back, meeting, with their board and saying, hey, this is what we wanna come back and offer. They come back to offer us, and then it's pending upon, public notice. Is that how that would work? Sure.
Yes, I don't think there's any requirement or anything like that for a committee. Obviously, that would be one practical option that you could take. But again, it's up to the board how you want to go about selling this ultimately. And so long as the board votes that way, then you have the authority to do it.
I'd say make an offer. Bring it to the board.
That would be my choice.
It's all gonna be open discussion, so we're not. It's in front of everybody,
Yeah,
so.
it's just making sure, and just making, we have to do the legal notice.
Right.
That it doesn't happen immediately.
And we are a public entity as well, so
Sure,
we
yeah.
have to follow those same guidelines.
I'm just trying to save the taxpayers any future expenses.
No, and I get that, and I understand now that you've explained, that they didn't have the liners, I did not know that. I had some people reach out and they were had an interest of that. But hearing from legal counsel that we can change, that's good to know. So yeah, with that, we probably need to give a directive then. Jay, do you want us to, motion that, we're going to.
I like to say again, I appreciate the idea of us being still able to utilize the area for softball.
Yeah, that needs to be formalized in a 2080 agreement for a period of time or a length of time the agreement lives.
Yeah. Sorry. I was just gonna say, it seems to me like if you guys there was an agenda item here, maybe it's a direction for the, speaking for Jared, but the attorney's office to start the notification process of disposition, because I don't think that's taken place yet. And also maybe that there's a consensus to, I don't know if you can request an offer. I mean, nothing says you have to take the offer.
I would just say.
Something like that.
I would move that we begin the disposition notice on this property.
Yeah.
Contingent upon waiting for the offer of the purchase by the landfill association.
Which they'll have to finalize at our next meeting.
And then, and the other caveat to this is, a timeline for Tyler. Obviously, he's using the shop currently, so there's a unknown with that as well. So I mean, I speak for Tyler as well. But yeah.
We've had those discussions. I've had those discussions.
So I think that there's different options there, the sale could be contingent potentially, or is it through an agreement to maintain use until a certain date for housing of personnel and stockpiles, or is it?
Right.
Cause there's two stockpile issues. We have current stockpiles there. It would take us at least a week, if not two, to dedicate a entire crew and trucking to get them just removed and out of there. If that was the case, that is not my preference. My preference would be, regardless of who we sell it to, can we have some type of agreement to work those out over a period of time? The second stockpile issue is long-term utilization. That was not our original intent here. The road department's intent was to dissolve ourselves of this property. Does long-term use for stockpiling provide us an advantage? Potentially. Had we intended on that when we started down this road? No, but could there be an opportunity there for us if the landfill is the owner to do that? Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for stockpile locations. This isn't maybe the most strategic due to its proximity to other shop locations, but sometimes, and the quarry, but sometimes the quarry's closed when we need rock, so. And timeline,
We clearly understand where it is that we're looking to go and
Yes.
what we're looking for as an offer, both in price and timing and the 20 for continued use or current use. So I'd roll all that stuff into an offer and we'll take it up when notice is given.
I'm sorry.
I would think.
A point of clarification, would that need to be a 28E agreement, or could that be an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, which might be a little bit easier for us to do agency to agency?
I would refer to legal,
Okay,
whatever the appropriate form is, that's what
Okay.
we would want.
I'll be in touch.
Very good.
Okay.
Sharon, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
When the offer is made, but that will be, and agreements are drawn up. Do I have a vote when it comes at that time to accept, do I have to abstain from this if I'm on this other board?
Some conflict of interest, or is that kind of what you're suggesting? You know, you're asking me, I always err on the side of caution, but that's something that I'd be more than willing to discuss with you, on a one-on-one basis, just to make sure that I know all the reasons why you might think that. I mean, if there's other additional things, we can certainly discuss that. And I can give you an opinion on that.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so, I believe Jim, did you make a motion? I will second that.
So we'll go back and get that from the recording, what the exact motion
I'm
was.
not sure I can say it again.
Okay. All right, and it'll be seconded by Johnner.
Yes.
Okay, so just to be clear, what Jim stated earlier will be the motion, and we will get that verbatim off the recording. Okay,
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you for your time.
okay, so Mueller,
I,
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
To item number 5, which is resolution 2026-19. This is S45 bridge replacement supplemental professional service agreement. Tyler.
Yeah, before you is a fairly standard professional services agreement for engineering services related to a federal aid bridge replacement project and the subsequent design for that. Some of the kind of preliminary design work the county will be tackling, which has been typical. You know, we do some of the environmental archaeological review. Some is more out of our expertise, and we rely more on the consultant to do that as part of their preliminary design as they progress through preliminary design. So this agreement is standard as we have done probably the last 3 or 4 projects with various consultants, and Kirkham Michael has done I think 2 other bridge replacement projects, both being federal aid also for us. So this agreement again is just for preliminary design and wetland delineation. And then some of the other things we will tackle as the county. And then such as surveying, archaeological, endangered species and whatnot. We will do some of that work, and this is reflective of that. As typical, we will likely have a supplemental agreement for final design, which is typically less than this.
All right, I appreciate that explanation, Tyler. Or do you have any questions for Tyler? If not, entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution 2026-19.
Second.
Johnner. Combs. Mueller.
Should have said that project, this design is a little bit preemptive. This is the next federal aid project in our 5-year program utilizing allocated funds. However, we have applied for a discretionary grant that may bump that timeline up. Either way, we're going to get this project going and designed and on the shelf.
Item number 5 is also Tyler's, which is resolution 2026-20. This is Marion County Local Option Sales Service Tax Fund request for Knoxville Area Pavement Rehabilitation Project.
Yeah, so really the main reason that I'm bringing this up now versus during budget and 5-year program discussions is because I'm looking to utilize local dollars, whether that's through the secondary road fund, through local option sales tax, or a combination of farm to market and local, because there are small portions of this that are farm to market. But also because it's a joint project with the city of Knoxville, trying to get this discussion moving and funds allocated so they can finalize their budget for the upcoming fiscal, as well as my budget that I'll be submitting hopefully tomorrow upon this being approved. And then also that will help us to progress into securing a 28E agreement with the city of Knoxville fairly quickly here, so we can get this project out to bid for the upcoming fiscal and get it completed in FY27. So what the ask is here would be for $1 million of local option sales tax to fund the entire county portion of the project. The city would directly pay for their portion of the project. In total, we're looking at about 1.36 million. So the county has the bulk of that. But because the city's portions are extensions of the county's portion of the project, we met with them and they were willing and excited to participate on those extensions of asphalt rehabilitation, specifically on McKimber and South Attica Road. 110th is also included in this, which is a farm to market road. However, due to its small length in nature, I chose to proceed with utilizing local dollars on this project because our farm to market fund is really just tapped out, and we have much higher priorities on our major thoroughfares that we need to utilize farm to market funds on. This is not uncommon. In the past, we've utilized local dollars on farm to market projects, or specifically on projects that have a combination of local and FM eligible roads. And then as far as local option sales tax, I typically come to you with requests for utilizing lost money on road projects that are in the vicinity of our incorporated areas. For example, last year we did a 50-50 project with the city of Monroe, and previously we've done projects with the city of Pella on Old Highway 163 pavement rehabilitation, the Volkswagen Trail. And in the document I handed out prior to the meeting, you'll see we have an upcoming project, again, a combination of locally funded roads, city funded, and county farm to market in FY28 with the city of Pella. That would be Idaho Drive and 198th place. So that's where I'm programming in the future. So kind of continuing with that trend of utilizing lost dollars for secondary road projects, but specifically in the areas where maybe more lost is collected, I guess, is my justification there. The balance So Jake and I have balanced amongst ourselves the current projects in FY 26 with the current revenues tracking on what was anticipated through December of 25. And we believe that the lost balance at the end of FY 26, so at the end of June this year, will be about just under $1 million, so 998,000. Then future FY 26 revenue we anticipate at 850,000. And then with this project, the net at the end of FY 27 would be roughly $850,000.
As you can see, Tyler's always looking at our loss. And always is planning on projects.
And what I failed to mention was our secondary road fund. I don't have the capacity for $1 million project in our secondary road fund. You know, right now we're doing crack sealing, concrete and asphalt crack sealing, maintenance projects, patching projects. And I'm really tapped out in just kind of doing maintenance projects without any major bridge or road reconstruction planned moving forward, and trying to find, like Jim's earlier point, trying to find efficient ways. We've been doing that for the last 4 years, you know, and making cuts in various areas and finding more sustainable ways to utilize our dollars to make them go further. So, and we'll have that discussion coming up in our budget session. So I understand this, you're not looking at all that now in my entire secondary road budget or my 5-year program. But this ask, I guess, is somewhat preemptive to that because of the partnership with the city, trying to get their budget and my budget secured and proceed with this project in a timely manner.
Question.
Yep.
The sharing with City of Knoxville, looking at the map, everything that clearly the red components are the things that you're proposing. Anything that's got a contingent property to Knoxville or fully included inside the city limits of Knoxville, they get the 100% if it's fully within their jurisdiction, and it's 50-50 on the portion of the rehab that is shared. They've got a portion and we've got a portion of that.
Yes, and in this particular case, the bulk of it is 100% in the city. There's a very, very small portion that's 50-50. And
right,
there's a small section of 50-50 here, then it's 100% city, and this is 100% city from this point on.
Okay.
It's hard to see here. The jurisdiction goes to the south right away line.
Oh, okay, so that's okay. I was assuming that was 50.
No. Well, we did too until we looked at that.
Okay.
Yeah, Tyler, I don't have an issue with this. You know, we're gonna help, you know, Knoxville, we're gonna help Pella next year. But at some point, board, we need to think about how we're going to be able to, I mean, we're not gonna always be able to steal from lost to do something. So, cause you know, I would love to be able to look at how we're gonna fund trails, because trails, I would love to be able to, because I feel like that's going to help all of Marion County. But I know that we have helped with Pleasantville. We've done some different things. Maybe that was farm to market funds, but
no, I think you gave general fund money.
we give general fund. So, Tyler, on an average, how much has your rock prices gone up in the last 3 years?
The last 3 years, average is 7.5%.
The last 3 years is 7.5%, so 21 each year.
Or
on average.
Yeah.
Each
Per year.
Per year.
Yeah, so 21% in the last 3 years. We all know what car prices
It's
are.
5.5% this year.
Did they come down?
The rate came down.
I thought it was 7.5.
The rate of increase came down, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've got our challenges. We've got our challenges before us on how we're going to fund it. And I love your being able to vision. I mean, I see here, but by FY 31, we're negative balance in our loans. That's correct.
If you continue to
do.
fund
All these road projects.
road projects, and these are road projects for which we have a need but don't have a funding source for. And I will say, this project was originally programmed as a farm to market project, matching with either lost or secondary road funds for the local portion. However, my farm to market fund is tapped out, and we're gonna be utilizing that for a bridge deck overlay on one of our major corridors on T17. And we have a looming T15 grant out there that we would have to provide matching funds for, but if we don't get that, then that farm to market fund is gonna take a bigger hit. Because that's one of our other major corridors that is in much need of rehabilitation. And then we still have FM corridors that are unfunded in our 5-year program that have exceeded their useful life.
I know that, I just, and I.
So I guess I'm just providing why I pulled this out of the farm to market funding source and sought local option sales tax solely.
Jake, can we spend local option on anything else?
Right now,
What other your expenditures?
I didn't bring that. So historically, $300,000 went to the principal and interest of the law enforcement center. That got paid off a couple years ago, so that's
Okay.
done. Refresh my memory what the actual.
50% goes back to, yeah.
Well, sorry, I'm only thinking about the portion that goes
The
to
net.
this particular fund. The money, the local option sales tax that the county keeps, you might say, after the 2080 with Knoxville and Pella, gets split 50-50, 50% of it to this project fund, and then 50% goes to the, divided up how you so choose, to the general fund and the general supplemental fund, however you so choose. So, this is, in our minds, this is just the project portion of the local option sales tax. So it is not used by any other department. It is solely at the discretion of the board of supervisors. This year, what are we using? I didn't bring it along, sorry.
So this year in FY26, there was a
Junction 92.
Junction 92, yeah, sorry.
So we used the remaining allocation from the board, the county line project with the city of Monroe.
And they've reimbursed us for their 50% now.
Yes.
Say what?
They did reimburse us. Tyler just got that. And it was deposited back to Fund 29, the local option sales tax.
And then I also have a placeholder for the trail study that was approved.
Yeah,
the last
yeah,
week.
so I guess that was your question, sorry, is like, there is no other outside folks using it other than what you determine, and that's all. This is the only request.
In the
for this
past,
And this, the other projects up to like 2031 or whatever you said, this resolution is only for next fiscal year.
correct.
The rest, the rest are to be determined. It's just Tyler does a good job of laying out
Yeah.
proposals and plans,
He's just very good at.
I was
at
showing
looking
you,
at
I was
it.
just simply showing you.
possibilities.
Yeah.
In the past, Jim, what was it, 2020, there was new ballot language for loss to use for any county purpose. Prior to that, was it 2020?
I think it was after 2020.
Okay.
But yeah, that was when
Prior to that, it was for capital improvement projects, county conservation, or road department equipment and projects. I think some had been used on the courthouse at one time.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
dredging of the
Elevator.
pond at Marion County Park. And then the Marion County Road Department bought a piece of equipment like in 2012 or 13 prior to me. And then we've used it fairly substantially on a variety of local road drainage, bridge, and local road surfacing projects.
So Jim, when you talk to a lot of other board supervisors from other counties, this is how they help fund those extra projects from the road department or something new. And, that's when we receive those funds, because we do get a larger portion of the local option sales tax. And that's how, oftentimes Tyler has done a really good job about making sure that we utilize that with these agreements, and in the past with doing other projects and making sure that whether it's Pella, Knoxville, and I think we did something not too long ago in Bussy. I don't remember what it was. Did we do a road over there in that area?
Attica.
But
You did in Attica,
Yeah, okay. So anyways,
right?
Lost? Is that what the
yeah, I
question
just
is
don't
with lost money?
remember. I know we as a county, I can't remember if it was lost or not, but, it's
Attica-
utilized
Attica was a
mainly.
federal aid project.
Was it?
Bussy, the most recent project was also a federal aid. And then prior to that was a farm to market project for which we are responsible for the farm to market extension through Bussy. So it's not, it wasn't a shared project that I think it maybe is what you're referring to. We are responsible for that road.
So, and I'm thankful that we would be able to use that money to do Junction 92. That was not bonded, the taxpayers. We were being responsible and making sure we could fund that within county tax dollars in which we received, so. Board, if you don't have any further questions, I'll entertain a motion for resolution 2026-1.
Move to approve resolution 2026-20.
Or,
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller,
aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, on to item number 6, board supervisor updates. Mr. McCombs, do you have anything?
Nothing for me.
I just have a few updates. Portal, the IT department should be sending out an email this week. The portal is coming, yay! So, watch for further communication from IT. Budget worksheets due tomorrow for those department heads. And board supervisors. We have an online option to be able to, so when we do the budget worksheets, the department heads do the budget worksheets and then do it also online. I have been working on those budget worksheets for, maybe you don't know, but there's like 9 different departments that we have to do the budget worksheet for. So I have been updating that information in the Excel website. If you're more than happy to go look at the department, see, if you feel like there needs to be any changes, and definitely talk to Jake. But I will be turning in those sheets tomorrow. And then budget meetings, 17th through the 20th in the mornings, that's the plan. And we'll get budget done, move forward. Let's see.
Would there be sign up or assignments for particular departments, or how would you?
Yeah,
follow
I will
steps?
be working with, in the past, I think we worked with Renee on that. And we'll probably go similar to how we did it last year if we can. The larger departments, I believe it was yourself and Jason were on that first day, if we can, and then generally Jake gives us a synopsis in the beginning, so then yes, I will look. I will say this, if there is a department, since the salary study has been issued and sent out, and employees, your employees should be aware, that information was communicated through the department heads. The employees should have received their sheets by now, I'm assuming. If the department heads have been able to give them all out, maybe Tyler's still working on
I'm
it.
still working on it.
Okay.
They don't have email yet, so I have to handle everything.
Okay, so Tyler's hand delivering what's left. If your department does not see a ton of change, like, if you're not asking for a large increase other than what you're doing in salaries, and maybe, like Jim said, unless you have some way of saying, hey, I've been really creative and this is what I've been able to do with my budget, just be mindful. I'm looking at doing these budgets to continue how we did last year. We're not going to have set times. You're just going to be on that day. And but if you feel like you don't need to be present, I know we have some smaller budgets that are like, I'm not changing anything. We can review it. That's kind of what we have been doing. I want to move the process along as smoothly as possible. So that's all I had.
I just had one comment when I said that in the beginning about trying to find things to do things smarter, wiser, and economically. I said to contact me. I did not give my email address, but I will right now. It's jmueller@marioncountyiowa.gov. And I would love to hear from any employee or any citizen that has a suggestion on how we might save some money and do things more efficiently.
Appreciate that. And yes, you can find all of our emails on the website. So that, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner.
Thank you, everyone.